40 years ago, the first cases of HIV/AIDS began to surface in South Africa, but decades later, new research shows people living with the virus still struggle against stigma. Around 35 million have died from HIV/AIDS worldwide, and between 2019 and 2020, new infections and deaths hardly dropped. For more on this, we're joined by Doctors Without Borders Senior HIV/TB Advisor Gilles Van Cutsem. Thank you very much, Mr. Van Cutsem, for your time here on eNCA. Now, of course, HIV and AIDS has been something that has been battling scientists in terms of a cure for quite some years now. But we're also seeing, for instance, that in the past few years, even investment into, the healing or the finding of the vaccine have dwindled. Why is this?
Hi, Masego. Well, I mean, the history of HIV is fascinating, and as you said, 40 years ago, on 5 June 1981, AIDS was kind of discovered because of 5 cases of a very unusual type of pneumonia, pneumocystis pneumonia, in gay men in the United States. And since then, amazing progress has happened. You know, we found antiretroviral therapy with which you can live a normal life with HIV. Funding increased massively between 2000 and 2015, and today we have, out of 38 million people living with HIV, 27 million are on treatment. Those are amazing successes. Then, unfortunately, since 2015, we see that there is a decrease in international funding. And with this decrease, we also see that progress is slowing down. Last year, there was still another 1.5 million new infections worldwide. The UNAIDS targets were to get below 500,000 by 2020, so that's 3 times the target. There were still 700,000 deaths from HIV. There also, we completely missed the target of below 500,000. So progress is stalling. Funding has decreased in recent years, mostly international funding. And then you're right. Research on a cure or a vaccine is ongoing, but we are nowhere near a vaccine against HIV or a cure at the moment.
Now, looking at the report that was done by the World Health Organization, for instance, solutions include investment, it includes the leaving no one behind, the treatment and prevention, and the whole prevention is better than cure. I remember hearing all of this from a very young age. Until today, this message keeps going, but we see our infection rate going higher and higher.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of talk about leaving no one behind or investing in prevention and treatment. But in the end, what has happened is that there's been the strategy, the global strategy against HIV has been universal test and treat, testing as many people as possible and treating as many as possible. And this has worked to some extent, but it has left a lot of people behind. It has left all the populations who are neglected or criminalized. People in the poorest countries, West and Central Africa, people who are criminalized like sex workers, intravenous drug users, or in still a number of countries, homosexual men. And now we're finding that 60% of new infections happen in these so-called key populations, and that's not so much the case for South Africa, but globally, a lot of the new infections happen in populations that have been neglected by the response.
Let's also talk about the whole, the issue around patency. Every time a country makes a breakthrough, a lot of people would think that it's about making money because countries most of the time will find a breakthrough, but they want other countries to pay. For instance, even the ARV issue was quite a problem, especially here in South Africa back in about 2008. There's an issue also around the fact that it's either you save people's lives or you make money out of trying to do that. And
to be honest, you can save people's lives and still make some money out of it. It's what has happened in the past and is still happening today is pharmaceutical companies choosing to make scandalous amounts of money at the expense of people's lives. You remember probably in the 2001, there was an enormous struggle between people living with HIV and people who cared for them and the pharmaceutical industry to allow for generic antiretrovirals to be manufactured and sold in resource-limited countries. And Big Pharma fought this tooth and nail. In the end, for antiretrovirals, they lost. And so today, we can access effective antiretroviral therapy at something like $75 per person per year. This was $10,000 to $15,000 per person per year in the year 2000. And of course, this is just for antiretrovirals. As you know, today with COVID vaccines, we're facing the same problem, where patents held by originator pharmaceutical companies are preventing access to life-saving treatment. So definitely there is a problem with the patent system, and the safeguards in the international regulations on patents need to be used to make treatment available even in poorer countries.